And then I decided to move into the garden without naming it. What if I were like a babe?
Yes.
What if I were a babe,
Yes.
you know, learning what a flower was for the first time? What if I went out under the oaks that I love so much, but I didn't know it was an oak? I didn't know what to call it. And I shared this in one of our after shows, that for the first time, and I've loved trees all of my life, and the sense of power and stillness they represent, but by not naming those things in nature, that I felt a magical presence. I felt a sense of majesty and power and strength and connection that I'd never felt before.
Yes.
Because I didn't give it a name.
Yes, that's the key.
Yes, I didn't give it a name or have a reference for everything that a tree has meant in my life.
That's right.
Isn't it?
That's right. So being present with the perception. And this theme is perhaps the main theme running through the whole book, is that state where the compulsive naming of things,
Yes.
and you start with nature because that's easier to let go of the naming. Later we'll be talking about that in some future session.
Stop labeling people.
Yes, that's more difficult because people invite the labels.
Yes.
Because there's so much mind in everybody, and they label you and you label them. So, but with nature, this is the starting point to find a different relationship to nature. It doesn't mean that you need to forget what you have learned about trees or about flowers. When it's necessary, you can get that knowledge and you use it.
Right.
But not to be totally in the grip of what you have learned, of mental labels, of interpreting mentally, but being able to perceive, one could call it, perceive the flower, see it, through a background of just stillness.
Just stillness.
Which is really consciousness.
Yes. Well, I will tell you, it's an amazing, for all of those of you who've tried this, and I know some of you have because you've emailed us and said so, but when you start to walk through a park or walk in your backyard, or begin to, and you're right, it's easier with nature than with people, and pretend that you don't know, or just let yourself be in the space without labeling the things, it's just, everything's vibrating, and it's like, you know, scintillating.
Yes.
And everything's exciting.
Yes. And that's,
everything's exciting.
Yes. And
a
then
walk through the park
right.
becomes exciting, and it's the same path you've always taken.
Yes. And before, when you were involved in your mind,
yes.
perhaps you didn't even see it.
Never saw it. I see. Yeah.
And so many people are so trapped in this continuous mental noise that absorbs their whole attention all the time. Every thought absorbs, this stream of thinking absorbs their attention. They don't see that the world around them is vitally alive.
Yeah.
So you become, gradually, as people then grow older, the world around them becomes more and more lifeless and dead.
Right, right.
And that happens to them also.
And why is that? Because?
That is because you are run by mental abstraction. All the concepts and the thoughts in the head are abstraction. It's not alive.
So you can't take in the information. If you were to go out and just be with a tree, and I don't mean hug a tree. We're not talking about now you got to go hug a tree and eat granola. But if you were just to be with anything in nature, I like trees because they're so majestic, they're so powerful and visual. And if you're with it for a time, you start to sense the presence of it, the stillness of it, and begin to recognize that stillness within yourself.
Yes. So what you sense in the tree is also in you.
And it's always in the tree.
Yes.
Even when the wind is blowing and there's a storm.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is also a sacredness that is there in the tree. Now our world doesn't know much it's sacred. It has become an abstract concept. Nobody seems to know what sacredness is, but until you can feel it.
Until you can feel it.
When you feel, then you don't need a definition. People ask, please define what sacred is. You don't need a definition of what sacred is, because sacred is the essence of who you are. So it's sensing that. And you can sense it when you're still enough, you sense it in the tree.